Welcome back to Like Nobody's Business, where we are high atop Las Vegas, enjoying the view and the hospitality of the top of the world restaurant at the Stratosphere Tower. Our next guests are Mr. Terry Shirey, President and CEO of Nevada State Bank, and Mr. Jeremy Aguero, Principal of Applied Analysis. Welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show today.
Very glad to be here.
Thank you. We have a lot to talk about. Mr. Shirey, tell us, why does Nevada State Bank do the Small Business Survey?
Well, it's part of our commitment to the community. Small businesses play such a vital role in our state, in our economic growth, and our job creation, that 5 years ago, we commissioned Applied Analysis, Jeremy's firm, to conduct a survey on our behalf to really get a sense of the pulse of the small business community here, really to ensure that we were aligning our resources at Nevada State Bank with the needs of small business.
This must be a great resource for small business and folks interested in the economy in general in Las Vegas.
Absolutely. We also hope that decision makers will use this information as they're making policy decisions.
Yeah. So Jeremy, tell us, what are the key findings of this report?
I don't know if there's just a single key finding.
Yeah.
I think most importantly is the optimism that we're seeing among businesses. We started to see more of that last year after a couple of years where, of course, things were a bit difficult. We've seen more of that now. We've seen improvements relative to how people are viewing both the national economy and the local economy in terms of performance. But this doesn't mean that there's not concerns out there. Things like healthcare, regulation continue to be problematic as our economy continues to grow. We're starting to feel some of the difficulties and challenges associated with that. And so we're looking forward to seeing how businesses react to each one of those things as our economy continues to grow.
It's always wonderful to see so much optimism, and I was reading the report. I was really sort of astonished at how optimistic people are given recent years, but it's always so wonderful to see. What does this optimism look like in terms of the economy in real dollars?
Well, look, I mean, when you translate optimism into economic activity, what we know is it's the greatest level of economic output we've ever seen as a community. It's the highest level of employment we've ever had as a community, and now we're seeing increases in wages and salaries that we haven't seen for some time. So what does it translate into? It means more business activity, and it means more people are employed, and those people are earning more money. From an economic perspective, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that.
Yeah, I know. And I saw that in the new and expanding companies in our state, we look at, of course, the sports teams, Tesla, Switch, and so forth. How did they play into the results of the survey?
Well, look, when we're surveying folks, the survey is totally random. So we want to have the survey look at businesses all over the state and focused on small businesses. But when you ask about some of those economic development activities that we've had, companies like Tesla moving in, I think that is feeding that activity. Not only that, but it's changed the dialogue about how people are talking about Nevada. You roll back to 2011 when Governor Sandoval created the Governor's Office on Economic Development and said, we're going to do economic development differently. Here in Southern Nevada, we've had 10,000 new businesses be created since that period of time. Yeah, we focus on a few of those, the ones that make the headlines, but when you talk to folks like Nevada State Bank and what they're working on, it has to do with so many of the small businesses that are here looking to find ways to expand. When we think about economic development and diversification, oftentimes those are viewed as the same thing, and really they're not. Economic development is largely about all of those businesses that are here and finding a way for them to be in a great place where they can grow.
Well, Jeremy, you talk a lot about the small businesses and their role in this report. What were some of the challenges that small businesses identified in the report?
Well, something we see every year is competition, attracting new customers, and something we need to keep a really close eye on is, in second place, was attracting and retaining quality employees. So as this economy continues to grow, small businesses told us that they're going to be adding jobs this year, hiring additional employees. That is a headwind that we're facing, is this challenge in attracting and retaining quality employees.
Yeah, I know that's another thing that we deal with at the Chamber is trying to shore up that workforce development. That's been a real key issue for the Chamber as well. Were there any other findings about workforce development and how are our small businesses dealing with that today?
Not specifically, and maybe Jeremy can address this.
Yeah, sure. No, look, I'll take a shot at it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a double-edged sword, right? I mean, and Terry and I have talked about this a lot. On the one hand, we're number one in the entire United States in terms of job formation. It doesn't get any better than that. And where we used to know that there was a labor supply issue, we didn't have enough folks, that was largely centered in healthcare and technology. We're not seeing that today. Now what we're seeing is that there has been such robust growth in employment that it's every type of business. It's restaurants like the one we're sitting in today. It's trucking companies. It's retailers that are now having a bit of a difficult time finding those employees. It's a good problem to have, but I think Terry said it exactly right. It's one we better keep a very close eye on, because if we don't, it's going to start affecting businesses of all shapes and sizes throughout the state.
I think one of the positive things that I saw that came out of the report is that over 95% of the companies are planning to maintain or increase the number of employees for 2018. That's got to be good news.
It's absolutely good news. And, you know, we're seeing that health of the small business when we're looking at our own credit statistics, small business loan approvals. We're seeing these small businesses are investing in growth. We're seeing those approval rates went from coming out of the recession, we're at about 25%. Today they're over 60%. And again, these companies are investing in growth, which I think is a fantastic sign. And when you combine that with them adding employees in 2018 and the expectation they will continue to do so, I think that should make us all very optimistic.
Yeah, I think so too. It's really good news all the way around. Were there any surprises in this report for either one of you? Jeremy?
Look, I think the biggest surprise is how accurate the small businesses have been. And I think we've started to see that more so over the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. And in this case, look, you know, 3 economists can agree if 2 of them are dead relative to what's going to happen in the economy or whether there's going to be a recession. But if you ask consumers and you ask businesses, what are you thinking? What are you seeing? What are your customers saying to you? What are the challenges that you're facing? They are remarkably honest and straightforward with you. So I think the fact that they've been accurate in terms of what their game plan is, I think is incredibly important to us, and frankly, very good relative to the direction of our state's economy and the economy here in Southern Nevada. But the other side is, I think that we would be remiss if we did not listen to the challenges that are before them. Employment, healthcare costs, the cost of operation, what's going to happen with affordable housing. All of these things are going to matter to those individual businesses over the next couple of years. And if the community is not proactive relative to those things, it could become a bigger problem. And so I am always impressed and surprised about how accurate and forthright businesses are when we call up and ask them, hey, will you spend a little bit of time and tell us what's happening and what you expect for the coming year?
Yeah, they're definitely a great barometer. I know, it's kind of like having your own personal crystal ball, I guess.
Right. They're on the front line.
Yeah. I guess one thing that caught my attention was the one thing that they were not concerned about was getting access to capital and financing. Terry, can you speak to that a little bit?
Right. There's still some level of concern, but this is the highest rating we've seen, the most positive rating we've seen in the 5 years we've been doing the survey. And again, it's not a change in the way banks are looking at how they grant financing. It is more about the health of the small businesses. They're improving financial statements. The change from needing, frankly, some capital to investing in growth. That's the big change that we've seen, and I think those findings are reflected in the survey.
Was there, last but not least, was there anything else that was particularly interesting about the small business findings in the report?
I just want to comment on something that probably doesn't get talked about enough, and that's how generous small businesses are. 7 in 10 small businesses actually budget every year for charitable giving. Much more than that actually do engage in charitable giving or allowing employees time to volunteer. And with everything on a small business owner's plate, with all the expenses that they have to manage and focus on growing their business, I think that speaks very well to the character of our small business community.
One thing I wanted to mention too is the Chamber's Washington, D.C. fly-in coming up July 15th through the 20th. Nevada State Bank is a proud sponsor. Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, yeah, we are sponsoring the Nevada State Dinner, which is the kickoff of the event. It's an outstanding event, and I encourage Chamber members to explore that. Very highly consider attending. It's something that I did last year, met a lot of great business people in our community, really had a chance to connect with them, but more importantly, I was able to connect with our representatives in Washington, D.C., who are making so many decisions that impact us and how we do business here. Yeah. So I highly encourage participation.
It's a great, great trip.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Terry Shirey, Nevada State Bank, Jeremy Aguero, Applied Analysis. We appreciate you being here today.